-70.
You didn't
It's not
turn the
even
heat on.
cold outside.
Because I haven't been putting any of the heaters on because
That's
I'm
what I
trying to
figured.
save fucking electricity, so I'm wearing just sweatshirts. I've become my father.
I was gonna say, all right, Mike Dulovitz.
What, you cold? Put on a sweater. You think I'm made of money?
Oh my Lord.
Oh God.
Jesus.
It's all the same, man. No matter where.
Mhm.
Fucking dads. Oh man, I'm turning into one. Oh
Yeah.
God.
You're already a dad, dude.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm turning into Mike Dulovitz. I was like 30 seconds away today from being like, I'll give you something to cry about.
Oh Lord. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Now go ahead and share these links as we're talking because the internet's kind of slow. I'm at quarantine at one of my friends' houses, so it's taking a minute here. All right, so welcome, Alex and Nick. Thank you for joining us. We've had some pretty good feedback. So, how you guys been doing? Hanging out, hanging in there.
Bad. Kind of making not great, but not bad. We're kind of getting through, and we sort of had to pivot the business model a little bit and try to figure out some new stuff in order to adapt with the situation that we've been presented with. But so,
Yep.
best that we can be circumstances.
Yep. But how about on the personal level? How you guys been? You guys hanging in there on that side?
I'm healthy. Alex has kids, so
I miss daycare so much.
I bet you do.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, it's also, so the wife is an emergency physician, right?
Yep.
And my business has been closed down by the state, which effectively means I'm Mr. Mom.
Exactly. Yep. See, I went the opposite. My business got shut down. I went back to the hospital, so
Yeah.
it's different.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
Nick doesn't have any kids that we know of, right?
That we know of.
That we know.
Nope. Negative.
Negative. So
Negative.
Nick's just hanging out in the shop, so that works. So everybody's getting a little bit creative with how they're doing classes and stuff like that. What are some of the things you guys have put into place recently? I know we've discussed them before, but what's some of the stuff you guys have done that have made it? You're talking about changing business model. How have you done that? What's going on with all that?
We've had to sort of get down to brass tacks, and sort of the original business model when we first took over was just hustle for any possible sale through any possible avenue that you could get, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then as you created profit channels, you could start focusing on a more structured method of income, but all of those profit channels have been shut down, so we've had to create new versions of those. Slinging apparel on Facebook has been somewhat reasonable in terms of the response. We've been shipping out probably 4, 5, 6 packages a day for the last week or so, with hoodies, hats. It all counts. It's all a little bit. It's just making sure that the cash flow is going through.
Yeah.
And then I think the other big change is that we've now established some online webinars, something very similar to this, but we're offering classes now through scheduled webinars, and those go live tonight. And then we have tomorrow, Wednesday, and then Friday. So we have 4 different classes that we're running this week, and we're already putting together plans for the different specialties that we're going to be running next week as well.
Nice. What about getting in the water anytime soon? Anything? What's your guys' take on all that?
We've been diving a little bit, but the water's still a little chilly around here for most people. People are starting to think about training, though. I've been able to sell some of the. I usually try and sell all my tech courses throughout this time of year, anyways.
Yep.
So we get basically cash influx from that, and I don't have to do anything about it until the water warms up a little bit for a month. So, truth be told, this time of year is classically not the busiest time of year for us, kind of that transition phase from travel season to local diving season.
Yep.
So in some ways, it's almost like put a spotlight on local businesses needing help. So people have been spending money with us. So it's in some ways been maybe better than it is sometimes, because this isn't necessarily a busy time of year for us.
Yep. So yeah, that's a little bit different for us because we were, doing a whole lot of prepping for classes, pool work, trying to get everything done, finished up college classes and all that fun stuff. But
Sure.
it's the pool situation's really hurting us there. But,
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. So, Nick, go ahead.
So, I mean, we had to make some adaptations. The dry suit class, we normally do classroom, pool, and then go to the open water. And the pool shut down on us, but before they mandated a full shutdown of the business, we still had a dry suit course that was scheduled with 3 people. And so we actually ended up taking them down to Hathaway's and using Hathaway's as confined water because we have that signed off as a confined water site in the shallows. And it actually turned out to be very, very productive, without having to go to the chlorine and without overheating on the pool deck. The students actually said that it was perfectly comfortable. They were able to fix any minor issues in the suits right there with like seals, like right there on the edge of the water, get it all squared away, do the confined water stuff, in 10 feet, just sort of, clean, and then get out, get everything dialed in, and then go do their dives, one to the platform and one to the boat. And they were all done in a single day with all the water work. So that actually may be something that comes out of the other side of this, is that we may just not be going back to the pool for dry suit programs. Yep. And if we can do other specialty programs that require confined water skills down in the pond as well, and then also perform the graduation dives in the deeper water where it's a little bit cooler and the visibility gets a bit murkier, that might also be something that's a positive that comes out of the other side of this.
Yeah, we do that a lot with dry suits, similar thing of being like, all right, let's putz around in the shallow water a little bit more and confined open water type scenarios.
Yeah.
So as a warm up. So you guys are doing a free diving webinar also. Does everybody have to hold their breath during that entire presentation, or how are you guys doing that?
No, not yet. So I'm running one tonight at 7 p.m. and then Friday I have another one I'm running at 7 p.m. The focus of this week's freediving seminars are going to be on blackout safety and rescue. And it's a seminar I've given a few times in the past, a couple of times at Boston Sea Rovers, and then some of the local dive clubs as well. But the goal is going to be to offer probably a freediving seminar or 2 a week, because there's a ton of content out there. We can talk about breathing technique. We can talk about surface recovery. We can talk about positioning. We can talk about training and adaptation styles to in-water training, dry training. I mean, there's a ton of content that we can cover during those webinars. So I think that's the plan. So that's where we're going to start this week, and then I'm going to kind of take a look and write up a syllabus for the next probably month or 2.
Yep.
And roll those over the next while.
That's a good idea. Alex, are you doing like Zoom webinars for your classes for the technical, or are you waiting completely until later on before you do anything?
So we're trying to implement Zoom classes for a few different things. So yeah, I have a CCR course that I'm starting this weekend. So we're going to see if we can do like a first build over Zoom, which sounds terrifying.
It
but
does. Yep.
And see how it works. I mean, worst case scenario, it's one of those things that's like, if it doesn't work, all that happened is we got a chance to kind of like bullshit about CCRs and talk about stuff and, just get to the point. It's like, okay, when we have a chance, we need to get together in person so that we can actually hands-on together and make this work a little bit better. But this is kind of one of the fun things that's happening right now that's forced our hand is, we've always talked about wanting to be able to have a virtual option to be able to join our class sessions, and not just for technical, but for everything, right? Everything that you can. But the reason we've always shied away from it is like every single class has some kind of hands-on component to it.
Yep.
Or you're teaching like physics, which over Zoom also scares me a little bit as well.
Yep.
So we've always kind of been like, just put a pin in it, just put a pin in it. Well, we can't put a pin in it anymore. That's like what we have to do right now. We have to find a way to be able to make this work. So either it's going to work or it's not. And it's kind of like, I don't think people can necessarily hold it against us if it doesn't, because we're all like in this together, just trying to find a way to make this all happen, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's a very low risk way for us to get into this. And if it works, it's something that we can keep pushing after we get back to normal and the apocalypse ends.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
One of the things I've been thinking about, I haven't done anything, this is the first time I've kind of brought it up, is now if we start perfecting this, now we've got the capability to co-teach with people. Like, say you and I had a deco class going at the same time, we could say, okay, let's all 8 of us join into the Zoom class at the same time, and you and I can co-teach from 6 hours away from each other, or from the UK, or from wherever, and you can co-teach with somebody that you normally would be able to co-teach with.
absolutely. That's
So,
a tremendous idea. And
yeah.
like you don't even have to do a full co-teach too,
Nope.
right? You could just have like a guest lecturer for
Right.
something special. That would be super cool to hear about, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So and so has done way more of these deeper technical dives. Let's hear from them about gas mixes and what they use and why.
Yeah.
And create your class that way, where if everybody's in it together, then we can figure it out pretty good. So
Yeah, and it really adds value.
yeah.
Yeah, it would certainly allow you to leverage your network that much further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I found from all doing all these. I mean, Aaron popped on to say hi. Eric Fine's on saying hi. So everybody, those are guys that I've been talking to because of that. So
Yeah, for sure.
apparently my daughter has said hi. I haven't seen her in about a week and a half, so she said
Oh,
hi.
God.
So
Alex wish he hasn't seen his kids.
I'm there right now.
Yeah.
If I hadn't, I'd miss them, but right
Right.
now I do not miss them.
Yeah, they're all up in you getting to close the door is like, oh, thank you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is tremendous.
I love it.
Cool.
All right, so something that I very specifically neutral buoyancy training from the get-go. We've had these conversations. I know that we could go on probably all day long, maybe a little bit shorter since we're not drinking at NEMA, but so thoughts and ideas on neutral buoyancy in-trim training from day one. Why do you guys do it?
Because when you dive, you want to be in trim and neutral, so it seems stupid to do skills any other way.
It took us a while to sort of jump on this. I
Yep.
mean, Alex and I had sort of talked about it for quite some time. And what we found, or at least the discussion that we initially had, was when you train people on their knees and you can give them some sort of idea of what buoyancy is with like different breathing and everything else, but it's essentially like learning to ride a bike with training wheels, and then when you get them to the ocean, you pull those training wheels off, expecting them to either be neutral, or again you just stick them on the sand, and again they still have those training wheels on, and they never really get that idea of control and positioning in the water, and also just control over their buoyancy in general, until after they're certified, which now they've got to figure that out by themselves. And buoyancy isn't easy. Like, that's not something
it's hard.
that,
Like, that's one of the things that you have to understand, is that teaching this way is hard.
it's way hard.
Way hard.
Way hard. I mean, we extended the amount of time we spend in the pool. I mean, that was, essential. So we had to do, I think, 4 pool sessions at 3.5 hours a piece. And that gives us, for most people, adequate time to be able to do it.
And for everybody else, we have unlimited training. So if somebody needs more training, we just keep them coming back.
Right. But the other thing is that we don't overly task load each of the sessions either. I mean, that's sort of been the key to being able to teach it, is having the extra time, so that, let's say I get students in for the second pool session, we'll go through gear setup, get them in the water. And before we even really get into any other skills, I'm just going to take half an hour to work on buoyancy again.
Yep.
And we're going to do kicks a little bit, and we're going to get them comfortable, and we're going to get them to feel that balance. And then once they begin to feel that balance, now you start going into the skills. But when you brief the skills, it also adds now an additional element to that briefing, because now it's not just, okay, this is how we do a mask clear. It's going to be, this is how we do a mask clear while neutrally buoyant. So think about the skill in its respective components, but also consider, if you take a large breath in, what's going to happen to your position in the water. So you begin at a very base level, training their global awareness of their actions and their breathing and how those two things interlink, right? Because you see so many brand new divers out in the ocean, and they go to perform a skill, and before you know it, they're either plummeting down towards the sand or they're pinning themselves to the surface, and they don't get why, and they get frustrated, and it's dangerous, right? Because now they're shooting up or they're dropping down damaged ears, bruised ears, or all these bounce dives and these sawtooth profiles. And so, we've gotten some pretty interesting feedback, since we've been doing it. And I know a few of the naysayers are like, well, you can't do that because you don't have any control. But if you do the job properly in the beginning in the pool, you have more control in the ocean than if you were just to overweight them in the pool, give them a 10-minute, this is how buoyancy works skill, and then go to the ocean and do the same thing. Like the product is...
You got to go through the portion where you struggle and where you fail, but like in a 6-foot pool, it's easy to fail safe, right? It's kind of like when you teach somebody to walk, which, we've been through not long ago, right? Is, they have to have an opportunity to fall down. If you're constantly always holding them, they're never going to figure it out. You have to give them an opportunity to fall down and to struggle and to get through it. And it's awkward and it's uncomfortable. Yep. It's not as easy as putting somebody, overweighted, kneeling on the bottom and just telling them to do mask clears over and over again. That's an easy thing to do. But to get them to do it where they're constantly going up to the surface or crashing down to the bottom and needing to actually work those two things out together, it's an uncomfortable process. And you're trying to get them to really comprehend exactly what they're trying to do, which is also much harder than just be like, breathe in through your mouth, breathe out through your nose, tilt your head back. Okay, cool, let's move on, right? Like it's a much more complicated process. But if you take the time to do the hard stuff in the beginning, then they can walk, right? Then they can do all that other stuff. I mean, how many students have you had, Jason, when they get into a technical program that can't do a mask clear and trim, right?
And that's why I wrote that foundations course, because I'm like, I get people, I'm like, all right, we had an entire weekend planned, but it's dud because Friday you can't do anything.
Like, and our students now they can back kick coming out of open water.
Yep.
Like, it's important. It's important to lay that foundation because then they'll have those tools, right? Our students aren't scuffling around with their hands. They're not, swimming with their knees or fins, 2 feet below their chest.
Yep.
They're understanding their weight, how much weight they need. They're understanding how to determine how much weight they need when they go on a new trip. Like all that stuff that kind of gets blown over on a lot of courses is so much more. Like, I wish we could just rip out the emergency buoy in ascent.
Yep.
It's such a dumbass skill. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, why not teach people to just be able to solve their problems underwater? And so, like, do we teach people how to drive? Like, all right, now I want you to drive into this wall to make sure your airbags go off. Like,
that's a great
it
analogy.
Just seems so dumb to me. And it's a waste of time, right? Like nobody practices that skill. They're going to get out of their open water course and they're going to completely forget about it down the line. Take that time and practice buoyancy, practice doing skills while neutral. That would be such a better use of that time with that stupid skill.
Yeah. And teach more gas management. Like, so what's the situation where you're going to run out of gas? Because you're not paying attention or there's a massive hemorrhage of some sort. And like,
and we built that all into the program. And so, I mean, that's the biggest component, right? As well as the buoyancy is just making sure that people are checking their consumables. Right. And so by consumables, at least at an open water level, we're just talking about remaining no decompression limit and their gas management. I was like, listen, if you maintain both of those and you stay in with your team and you're diving with, 1, 2 other people, you stay within a proximity of each other, you're working together. And that's sort of another angle that we've taken in addition to that buoyancy, that we're now referring to our divers when they're in groups as dive teams as opposed to buddies. And again, you could say that we're being pedantic. You could certainly make an argument.
But it means something, right?
Right. It has an inner meaning.
This is where we're coming from on this angle, is that as a buddy, the term buddy sort of has this insinuation of, the guy I grab a beer with,
I was gonna say the same thing.
Which is fine. I'm going to go hang out with my buddies, but I don't expect anything in a buddy situation. It's just my buddy.
Right.
Whereas if I'm playing a sport or I'm involved with a group of people and we are part of a team, that team has connotations of what's expected to be part of a team. We all know growing up what it means to be part of a team. You play your part, you have a role to play, others play their roles, and you work together towards a common goal. And that's really what it should be to be with somebody else underwater, right? I'm not responsible for you. you're not responsible for me, but we're responsible for what we're doing together as a team and making sure that we're cross-checking each other, gear setup, whatever else, signals, communication, dive planning, briefing, so that it just creates more of a solid mentality in our minds of what it should be to be expected to be part of a team, as opposed to just going diving with a buddy.
Yep, completely agree. I mean, with our technical training, all the teams get after the first day get a team name that is comical but tries to reinforce something they did incorrectly the first day. So we got team nose pocket. They fucked up the mask skills and didn't grab they put them on backwards, and so that's team nose pocket. And team Flopsy. Shout out to team Flop, assuming they're on here. They looked like hell. So it was rough. But Team Sandstorm, Silt Outs, they all get their special name. It reinforces, but it's coming back to that team thing of here's the team. This is what's up. Right. It's about being part of the team.
And that's at a technical level, and where sort of our point is both neutral buoyancy and with this team methodology thing is that why wait until somebody gets to the point of technical before you reinforce these sorts of habits?
Right. And just like you're doing it, you don't have to be obnoxious about it, right? You can still be fun with it.
Right.
It doesn't have to feel like a drudgery as you're going through it. Like it's a fun thing to do. There's a reason why people play sports on teams, right? It's a fun thing to do. It's a fun to be a part of that atmosphere.
Yep.
People look for that atmosphere, right? And you just want to be fun about it. We're not trying to go back to the 1960s and have everybody do push-ups in full gear and all that stuff. No. But we do want to instill an idea of safety, and those things go hand in hand.
Yep. Exactly. And we use the team. It's tough to break, been teaching for 10 years now, so it's hard to break the buddy terminology. The same thing we were talking about with neutral buoyancy. It's hard to break that when you've been doing that for 8 years and you slip into it.
We've all struggled with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I catch myself still doing it every now and it's just going to take time, right? Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things that you and do I go off on one if I accidentally use the term buddy? No, I just carry on.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm just trying to replace terminology with the newer terminology.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And it's the same thing when you come through with the neutral buoyancy stuff and trying to figure it out. I think one of the things that people are trying to teach neutral and trim is they're I don't produce bad divers. Well, no one said you really produce bad divers. It's just that you are making it a little bit harder for them to succeed later on. It's making, I think it's actually even a little bit harder when you hit the open water to teach students, because now you expect neutral buoyancy and in trim or at least some version of that, because you're going to silt out everything and you can't see your students and it makes your life harder. I'd rather spend an entire night one of doing hardly anything and getting that foundation set up to really produce later on better divers.
And you hit the nail on the head right there, and that's really what it takes. It's a front-loaded exercise, right?
You're not there to check off boxes, right?
Right. If you task load at the beginning of every session, they're only going to get frustrated because they haven't had the time to learn how to balance themselves in the water and actually remain neutral. If you take that time and you front load it with that particular exercise, and then move on to the simpler skills like rank recoveries or whatever else like that, it becomes inherently easier. And by the time you get to the fourth pool session, our guys are hovering, in the deep well, and they're not using their hands. They're not doing this perpetual swimming in a circle to hold a safety stop.
Yep.
Right? They're actually hanging. They've got a computer on their wrist, and they're able to control their position in the water, not only vertically, but also horizontally, and being able to just sit there and they do a little back kick, and then they hang. And then they begin to drift a little bit. They do a little side kick, and then they push themselves forwards. But they have control over their mobility in the water, as opposed to knowing I'm going to go down and then I'm going to go forwards.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go up.
Yeah.
And that's a very linear. Like that. And if I want to do anything other than that, I'm going to swim around in circles or use my hands to do this. And it seems crazy.
Yep. It's nice the first time that you go down, you're like, all right, we're going to check off hover. We're going to take care of hover. And you look at your students, you're like, oh, yeah, Oh,
Cool.
Okay, I guess we
Sorry,
got that
I'm
down.
done.
All right, great. Let's go to the next one. I guess they're like, "What happened?" I'm like, "You did it." Like, I don't know what else to say.
Cha-ching!
Yeah. One of the things I heard, I forgot where I heard it from, but talking about skills versus habit and buoyancy as a skill and hovering as a skill versus
As opposed to a
creating
habit.
a habit, right?
Right.
So.
When we originally got taught our instructor course, they actually broke out every single skill into these different categories. I don't even remember them all now, but some of them, the ones that I do remember, is certain things are what they referred to as an automatic response.
Okay.
So there are certain skills that you learn that your performance of that skill is an automatic response, meaning that you don't have to think about it. It's just what happens naturally. And the buoyancy skill was always taught to us that way, that buoyancy is an automatic response, that you're just always able to do it regardless of what else is going on around you, as opposed to an emergency buoyant ascent where it's like able to do or something like that is the qualifier on it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. You want to watch somebody do it, and it's almost like you are checking a box because you know that the impact of that long term might not be as important as somebody just understanding how to control their buoyancy while doing a mask flare.
Yep.
So it's it is. You have to think about that as like the difference of saying like a habit versus a skill, or at what level do you really need to have this particular idea down? It's like steering a car, right? You can't show that you can steer a car and then not think about it when you're doing everything else in a car. You have to always be steering a car.
Yep. Yeah.
I always go back to cars for some reason.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I like it. So, how do you guys teach breath control with buoyancy control and all that? What skills do you guys utilize for that? I mean, there's the traditional fin pivots and such. How do you guys do it?
We don't do the fin pivots or anything else. I mean, by the time it's one of those things that you can have people lay down, and I mean, of course, if they're coming up on a slight angle like that, that's fine, right? Then their first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, whatever, when they're just beginning to learn how to balance themselves, yeah, that's fine. It doesn't have to be right off the fins and a perfect straight body. No.
The idea is breathe in, go up, breathe out, go down.
Right.
Get your BC tuned to a way so that you can do that, and then control your breathing so that you're not going up or down.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And the biggest difference, I think, with the breath control and then also equipment setup and just making sure that the tank is in the right position, that is probably the number one cause.
Balance your divers.
Yeah. That's the number one cause. I think you get these brand new divers and they set their cylinders up and I take them into a session and they have a really hard time trying to actually stay flat and like looking forward in the water. And of course, because the valve's just sitting there in the back of their head the entire time.
Yep.
And I mean, that makes sense if you're going to be on your knees so you can come back and reach the hoses a lot easier, right? But it does nothing but detract away from the ability to actually maintain horizontal in the water. And so by shifting that cylinder backwards on them, almost, my recommendation and my explanation is always that if they're in an 80 cubic foot cylinder, they should be able to feel the base of that cylinder against their butt.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they should be able to kick their butt up and they should be able to press their bum against the bottom of that cylinder. And if they can do that, there's a good chance that the cylinder is down low enough that they can now look forwards. But more importantly, the weight of that cylinder is now balanced.
Yep.
And I mean, that's kind of why we went to the backplate and wings for the same reason, is that it's it's more streamlined. It creates a better center of gravity, with the diver in the water. And it also just cuts all the crap out of the front, just making it a lot easier to be able to do what you need to do without all that extra material.
And you can tune the harness to anybody, right? Like, you make it fit anybody.
But it's scary tech gear. It's scary.
At one point, so was an Octo.
Yeah, I know, right?
Also, so is diving in teams, and so is apparently neutral buoyancy.
Yeah.
Right? It's these stigmas on that type of equipment and the level of training. Like it doesn't make any sense because it's not making things easier.
Right.
It's not. Like there's a reason why the attrition rate in diving is so high, is that people get out there and they're completely underprepared for the ocean experience. Yep. They go out there, they have a bad time, and you know what? The common phrase that comes out of those people's mouths isn't that, oh, my course was terrible. I had a, whatever experience. It's, oh, I'm not really cut out for diving. I don't really think I'm very good at it.
Yep.
They never blame their instructor. They
Yep.
never blame the program that they took, I should say. They always blame themselves.
Yep.
And that's the problem, is that they don't know any better. And when you've got individuals that are teaching at a substandard, and I'm not saying that those who don't teach neutral are teaching a substandard, but I'm saying that those of professionals out there that aren't doing their students a good service by making them comfortable before they go to the open water, they're ruining it for everybody else. And it's bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah, an instructor should kind of, to some degree, grade themselves based on how many of their students continue to dive long term, right? Like, that's a good metric to use.
Yep.
Right. Are they building a community? What is your job as a professional? Is it to issue pieces of plastic that say diver on them? Or is it to create somebody that falls in love with the sport and then becomes passionate about it, the same as they
safe and comfortable when doing it?
And feel good and comfortable when they're doing it, and continue to do that, right? I mean, that's how we build communities.
Yeah, completely agree on all those parts 100%. I mean, we need to develop a community. That's what's going to make local dive shops survive, is to actually make a, like,
be the epicenter of the community, right? Like, just be that meeting point. You don't have to do it all for everybody, but you can be a point where people like to come hang out, get advice, training, and meet other people. That's what a facility should be. It shouldn't be a Walgreens. It's not a hub where you just walk in, buy a few accessories, and walk out. You should be able to come in. We have benches built in the store for a reason, right? We wanted it to have that clubhouse style feel, and sometimes it slows operations down a little bit as everybody's hanging out in the store, for sure.
Yep.
But that's the point, right? The point is to have that familiarity and that meeting zone for new people getting into it that wouldn't normally be able to find that.
We always talk about that, like when you're talking about like contact time for sale and all that sort of stuff and square footage. I'm like, I just spent 45 minutes and got a $5 sale, but they had a good time.
But they had a good time. They had a good conversation. They had a chat. Maybe there was a beer in the back fridge that they managed to find. These are all things that help people feel comfortable and make them feel part of something bigger than themselves.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly. Come back to the neutral buoyancy thing, and one of the things that we picked up, one of the other instructors brought it to us, which is a fun little skill, is we put weights down at the bottom, and you have to two 2-pounders for females, 2 3-pounders for males, based off of projected lung volume. But you have to go down, and you're not holding your breath, but you can't touch your BCD, and you have to pick up the weights and not lose your trim and buoyancy.
Oh, that's cool.
So you're going to change your lung volume.
You have to change your lung volume, but you're not holding your breath by any means, but you're just mitigating. As opposed
to breathing off the bottom of your lungs, you have to breathe off the top of your lungs, right?
Right, yep, exactly. So it's a fun, and we just leave them down there, and on those buoyancy days, you'll see the divers go over, play with it, go on their merry way, try the back kick, which... same thing. We always say that it's enjoyment for us more than it is skill for them. Like, oh, look at that guy. Like, look what they're doing. But yeah, same general ideas.
So those little, those games, right? Like, we have a couple of them that we use, have like a little on the wall around our deep well. We're lucky that we have like a 12-foot well that we can use for training. That we have like almost like a path to follow, where they have to go and they have to follow each X and be able to hover at each different depth as they're changing depth on their way up to the surface. And it's a similar sort of thing, right? It's a game that you can play with these guys to get them to do something different than just work on the skill, right? Like to use the skill in some sort of actual practical exercise. And all that stuff is all icing on the cake, right? It all makes better divers.
Yep. I know you guys did it a while ago. I haven't seen anything since. So I'm not sure where you guys are at. Video feedback for students. Do you guys use that? Where do you use it? How are you using it?
I use it exclusively on basically all of my training that is either beyond open water. So everything beyond open water, I bring a GoPro into the water with me. And open water, if I'm struggling on something, like I'm really having a tough time getting a student to understand their body position for some reason. I've just gotten so comfortable doing it, and the effect that I've gotten out of it is just so huge that a camera is almost always on me when I'm teaching.
Yeah, I mean, same here. And then especially for like the advanced freediving classes, anything above level 1, or if we're doing like pool stuff and we're really trying to dial in technique, video review and feedback makes such a huge difference. You can the person has the ability to be able to see what it is that they are now doing, as opposed to just being told.
Right.
And for whatever reason, that visual makes a huge difference.
Well, and it removes the argument. We had an argument. Scott doesn't mind me saying this, but Scott was like, he couldn't reach his valves, and I was like, well, your elbow's out. Bring it in. And he's like, it is. I'm like, it's not. He's like, it doesn't make that much of a difference. We watched the video. He's like, yeah, I should probably bring that in and reach back. I'm like, yeah, you probably should. That sounds like a great idea. Once he saw the video, it clicked. So,
and that's what it is, right? Like, people have discrepancy between what they feel and what's actually happening. It's an amazing thing. And I remember when I first started filming myself, I was like, that's what I look like?
Yeah. We'll set up the cameras and just like leave them. Like, if we've got a dive master, we're like, okay, turn on the cameras. We have them on some plates and things for open water, so that and it's just free for all, people swimming around and doing whatever. But you'll catch yourself every once in a while. You're like, what in the world am I doing? Like, you're dealing with 4 people trying to beat you with their fins because they're new open water students. But you're like, why am I doing that? So, yep. Or Christmas was a little too rough on the cookies, so that too. So kind of to a halt because of pool sessions and stuff like that, but you guys are doing a bunch of online stuff, which is good. With the nitrox, are you guys figuring out a way to do the gas analysis, or are you guys doing that virtually or one-on-ones, or how are you doing?
We're not going to do it virtually. I kind of toyed around with the idea, but couldn't really come up with something that was actually
that we felt comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly. So we're basically issuing a seminar follow-up, if you will. So everybody who takes the program, they're going to get all the materials, they do all of that stuff, and then they've just got to schedule a time to come by the facility. And then what we'll do is we'll run them through the hands-on workshop. So we'll run them through gas analysis, filling out the actual log, show them the fill station, and then we'll also have them take the exam so we can actually do the exam on site as well. I'm looking at some online stuff to be able to do those exams, but I think I'd still feel more comfortable if it was just done on the facility. And then we can just finish our paperwork, sign everything, and then issue the certification from there. I mean, some of the certs we're going to be able to issue without in-person workshops, because some of them are going to lend themselves to that. But the ones that we can't, that's just how we're going to handle it, is we're just going to have schedule a time to meet and greet at the shop, come by, we'll show you how to do this. And since all of our staff in the store are all instructors, we have 4 or 5 people that are available to be able to just handle that if somebody comes in and sorts it out.
That's good. So your guys' finals are paper finals. They're not part of the e-learning?
As of right now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do believe that there are talks of obviously the benefits to digital exams and digital paperwork and everything else like that. I believe Europe is the major hang up on that right now.
Gotcha.
And obviously with the programs that we teach being SSI and then being ISO, what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander.
Right.
So it has to be uniform across the board.
Yep.
So
all of ours are online, so we're good.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I mean, I've been asking for it for a while. I think a lot of people have in the US, and I think the response is yes, we want that. It's just a matter of once we can get the legal precedent set in Europe to be able to feel comfortable, rolling it out internationally.
That's good. Yeah, it makes it a very interesting situation. You got to make sure you're covering yourself and that they actually truly know the material, but it's
so
nice.
This is an interesting point, though. We found in the past that the exams really don't mean squat.
Mm-hmm.
No,
in terms of knowledge comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of somebody's success in the program, right?
Yeah. Right, for sure. Because we tried when SSI first came out with their online program. We were like, okay, and we kind of talked about it. I was like, all right, well, if they're going to do all this work, how about we cut down the program by a single classroom session? So instead of doing 2 academic sessions that are 3 hours a piece, now we just do 1. We have them come in, we have them take the exam, and then we follow up with some question and discussion dialogue, and see where we're at. and that lasted probably 3 weeks.
It was a disaster.
It was a disaster because no matter, like, people can do the online training, which is great, but there's no substitute for being able to have that conversation, which is why we're big believers that the online training doesn't replace academic contact with a professional, with a dive professional. It sets the foundation. It allows them to ask more intelligent questions, or even raise some questions that they may have not had in their mind to start with, so that when they come to class, they're more prepared to learn and ask the questions they need to about the subject matter, as opposed to coming completely fresh without any idea of what those concepts are to start. So it's almost like an appetizer, if you will. The online training is a great appetizer. It kind of helps whet the palate and set some of those ideas in motion. But your entree isn't really until you sit down with the instructor and really get into the meat and potatoes of everything and actually sort of discuss and figure that out. Because online training can't read somebody's face. They can't read that body language. I mean, I'm sure, Jason, you've been in that situation before where you've got a group of people saying, all right, guys, so who's got questions? You good? You good? You good? You're not good. You
not at all.
But
you
I
are
know,
clueless.
I can see your face and you're like, right?
Absolutely. We call it a flipped classroom. So you do I don't need to proctor an exam. You do that externally, and it gives me extra time to deal with you and talk with you and use differentiated instruction. And, we've had people that are like, we haven't had any classroom time. Yeah, so we spent an hour before every single pool session, right? Yeah. What did we do? They're like, we did the stuff that I read about. Yeah, we did, didn't we? Like, that was your classroom. They're like, oh, crap, you're right. Like, yeah, it was just more hands-on. It's just I didn't stick you in front of a board and talk to you about regulators. I handed you them and said, here's DIN, here's yoke. Not sure why you'd ever grab a yoke, but here it is. And then here's some DIN, here's your DIN. Like,
Yeah.
So,
God, thank God for Pro Valves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh God, that is all I sell is that, so that I
everything.
Can,
every cylinder we have is all a Pro Valve.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just. Here's what you'll grab right now, because that's what people have. You're prepared for later on when you actually switch to DIN. Here you go.
Yeah. And now you can have a DIN and feel comfortable going to the Caribbean, because most people have Pro Valves. It's like there was a time when it was like, oh man, should I bring my DIN? Am I gonna be able to find a DIN tank in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
And a lot of places would have a set that they would keep for their staff that would use DIN, right? But everything else would be yoked. Now it's just everything has Pro Valves. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
So, all right, you guys will actually appreciate this just off of the fact that I'm quarantined with one of my Dive Master future instructors. We watched 47 meters down because we had to watch a terrible movie the other day. We just had to watch the complete garbage. So we're sitting there, and I had watched her. They switched the regulators over underwater, and
I heard about that.
She clearly switched DIN. Then the tank shows that she grabs is a yoke tank, and then she pulls it in and unscrews the DIN and screws the DIN in. I'm like, what are you doing? It was yoked 2 minutes ago. Yeah, it was freaking hilarious. And she didn't have her Allen key to get that thing out either. So it's not like she pulled the spacer out.
I can't watch those movies anymore. When Alex and I were in school together and we were learning to teach, it was right after Open Water had come out.
Oh God!
Oh yeah!
So the whole class just grabbed beers, and then we all sat around and watched Open Water, and it
was like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I love that show.
People just picking apart. Like, that's not the way that works. That's dumb. No, that's what are you doing, idiot?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to go full Sharknado or actually be real. You can't go middle. It's garbage.
Sanctum was another one of those. I was I'll teach you how to use a rebreather in 2 minutes. All right, cool, let's go.
Of course, then again, they did sedate a bunch of kids and pull them out of a cave in Thailand. So
but they didn't put them on rebreathers.
Kind of.
Yeah. God. Yeah, I threw one in for Jill Heineth when I was talking to her. I was like, so the cave? And she was like, yep, the cave. Like, all right. She's like, it was interesting working with Hollywood. I'm like, I bet it was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They have a different set of priorities.
They do. Yep. They're like, can't I just get on this thing?
Acts are usually low on that level.
Man, is it entertaining.
Yeah, it is entertaining. So, I mean, publicly saying that all of your people got back from Roatan all safe and sound after everything. So, yep.
Yes.
Big relief. I was like worried for them, but at the same time, like, oh god, they are not going to want to have this interview if they got people stuck in Roatan. This is not going to be good. So
That was stressful.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
were terrified.
yeah,
Yeah, talk about compounded stress. Like the
Yeah.
first week of complete shutdown, plus the fact that then we have a group that within 24 hours had all of their flights cancelled
yeah,
with no real options. Delta, by the way, just left everybody there. United actually came through. United sent, I think,
And
over-
American left every. They just canceled all their flights, and nobody would answer any phones. And they
Yep.
totally ghosted the whole
Yeah.
Oh, man.
situation.
everybody on the island. Like nobody could get off. United finally came through, and of the three airlines, they were on the bottom of my tier before all this. So they
Yeah.
just flipped themselves to the top. They flew, I think, 9 or 10 different flights down there, empty on the way down to pick everybody up and bring them back. Like that's what they should have done. Delta people hanging, American leaving people hanging. Like that's
So here's the deal. The problem with this is expectations, right? Because we don't know if behind the scenes, like the U.S. government threw a bunch of money at United just to solve this problem,
right, yeah,
right? Like there was some sort of subsidy that was paid to make this happen. But somebody needs to communicate with us about something, right?
Right.
Like nobody was talking. Still to this day, American just ghosted. Like nobody
Yeah.
told us why things were happening. And that's the worst thing that you can do, right?
Right.
Like just communicate. That's
Right, yeah.
all you have to do is just talk about what's going on.
exactly. Yeah,
None
it's
of that
always funny how all the airlines, like, they're completely clueless at one point in time, and one goes to the bottom tier, and then you're like, you guys are terrible. And they're like, you know what? We'll fix this just for this year. And then somebody else is just terrible. Like,
they rotate. They
Yeah.
rotate. They're all equally horrible. It's just who's worse that year.
yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Like, Delta has been amazing to us, and then for, like, going to Bonaire, and then this year they're like,
Yeah.
it's $2,700. Eat it. You're like, what? They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it is.
Last-
Like,
100%. Last 2 years, Delta have been great. And
Yeah.
then this whole thing, I'm like, what are you guys doing?
yeah, like, okay. And then in 2 years, they're going to be like, you know what? We screwed up. We'll fix it. Like, and United's going to be like, whatever. So-
It's like there's somebody online just like watching all the reviews for the airlines with their hand over the panic button for their airline, like, all right, fix it.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
too bad.
yeah, we got to get back in their good graces. So, yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous. That's the fun of travel, right? It's just.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
everybody
you
just
know,
being clueless about the travel situation and being like, we were trying to go to truck. I was supposed to leave tomorrow for truck. And they were just like, yeah, no, things are fine. We're like, no, I'm pretty sure you can't get into Micronesia. And they're like, no, I think we're good. Like, no, here's the paper. And they're like, yeah, you're right. Like, you were just going to send us, weren't you? Like,
That's how it was with Roatan, though.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you're coming. No, you're coming. What
Yeah.
are you doing here? We're like,
Yeah.
what the?
yep.
Yeah, that was absolutely. It went very quickly from a level 3 to a level 4, and all the media and even the government were saying, "No, travel, it's fine. As long as it's not a highly affected area,
Right.
you're good." And that's the sort of, that's the information that we were going on, like
Right.
leading up to that week, because obviously we had those discussions. We knew
Right.
what was going on. It's like, all right, well, this hasn't really hit. Those particular, there was no cases on Roatan whatsoever. So I was like, all right, there's no reason to panic here. It's not like we're flying into Europe or anything else like that. And then
Right.
everything just suddenly on a turn of a dime just
Yeah.
got shut down. Like
Yeah.
everything.
Of course. Hindsight is 2020, right? Looking back on it now, it's like, oh, of course that was going to happen. But this is my first pandemic. I've never
Yeah.
been through one before. I'm figuring it out as I go along.
Right.
That apparently that's how this works.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently it's a very quick turn, but it's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh,
So-
Matt Glass decided to sign up and say hi like 3 minutes before we're finishing. Thanks for showing up,
Hey,
Matt.
Matt.
That sounds like Matt Glass.
It does. Oh, yeah, he's got a good whiskey collection. He sent me a picture of it. I was impressed.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I got that. I got that picture too.
I was like, damn.
We'll put a group of 10 of us, made Matt Glass's
I
whiskey.
am all for that. I will
spot.
come out. That is a 100% gonna happen. Oh.
Watch out, Matt. We're coming.
Yep. We'll grab Gaudreau and go down there and raid his cabinet.
Yeah, yeah.
So any travel plan? Like, where are you guys at with travel plans and all that? Like, what do you got? I mean,
Travel plan.
yeah. Like,
Well, I had a trip to Mexico that's in a month. That's getting pushed at this point now, so
Right.
we're going to start talking. And then we have the next trip is probably mid-May to Bonaire. We'll see.
Right.
I mean,
Bikini 2023.
we are going to
2023.
Bikini in 2023. That is locked down. That is happening.
Nice.
So for those who want to go dive the atoll, we will be releasing information about that relatively soon.
Nice.
We've got plenty of room on our North Carolina trip for September. I'm heading down to North Carolina, doing that. And then I think we've got a bunch of other good stuff. Sakura, does Sakura fill? We fill Sakura?
I thought we did.
Probably.
I'm the impression that we did. There might be a spot. I'm not sure.
Nice. Any plans for coming up to the St. Lawrence River at all?
Yes. I think we're probably planning. We were
Fall
talking
usually is when we do it.
October, I think.
Yeah.
Columbus Day weekend. I think that was
Okay.
October, right?
Yeah.
We did that last year for Columbus Day weekend, and it was nice because there was nobody up there.
Yeah.
Conditions were still great, and it's fall season. So I mean, the drive up
Yeah.
is beautiful, and you basically have the run of the town.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
September, October is just once you hit that time frame, like September starts to dwindle down a little bit. October it starts to get cooler. It's still nicer, and the water's still nice. And it's just like, why is this not packed? It's
Yeah,
just-
100%. I just hate sweating my ass off in a dry suit. So I much prefer the cooler months because
Yeah.
the water temperature between the end of August and the beginning of October,
Oh,
it's
it's
maybe
like,
a
60
few degrees, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still perfectly comfortable, especially in a dry suit.
Yeah.
And a heated undergarment if you're a weenie.
You need that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be heading back. We're going to be doing a good amount of domestic stuff. It's affordable. It's fun. Carolina seems to be awesome. St. Lawrence is awesome. I'd love to maybe do something out in the Great Lakes. I'd love to do maybe one of the missile silos somewhere around the country. I think that would be a cool trip.
I want to get down and wreck trek the Keys again.
And I was just about to say the same thing. I want to go down and blow up the Keys for a week. And
I got a bunch of people that want to do some wreck diving training, so that might be a good way to do it. But
We do grab a van and
it'd be
drive
a fun
down.
thing to get a couple of different people together, like a couple of different instructors together on though, right? Because I can only take a few people. So.
Right.
no, that would be fun though. Yeah, we could do a combined trip. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, take like
We-
3 wreck diving instructors and 9 students or something.
Yep. You do van down the Keys.
That would be super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grab a van up in Miami and just or a couple of vans and
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, what we would probably do is we might even just grab a van from Boston.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Alex and I have made that drive multiple
A lot.
times because we used to live in the Keys.
Yep.
And, we'd probably just pack up a big van here and then just put everybody's doubles, rebreathers, whatever else we wanted into it, right? Just drive it all down and we'll just, leave a few days before everybody else and just make a road trip and meet everybody down there.
Yep. Yeah. Or road trip with everybody and stop along the way. You could pin out some wrecks.
That's a lot
on
of
the
time
entire
with
East
people
Coast.
in a small van.
You know what?
That would
Touche.
be a private invite only trip.
Oh hell yes! I got a couple of those where I'm like, it's full. I don't know what's going on. Maybe a spot will open up. I'm taking applications.
But your website says 7 left. It's a glitch.
Yeah. Yep. There's a delay between them.
I'll have to get onto those software people, assholes.
Yeah. Right.
Ruin
Exactly.
everything.
Too funny. Eric Fine says he's into Raid Matt Glass's whiskey cabinet. So.
I'm sure he is.
Oh God. When this is all over, it's gonna be a freaking party, huh?
Yeah, everybody's going to come out borderline alcoholic anyway.
Yep.
Honestly, if everybody comes out and unemployment goes away, right? Like the unemployment issue is solved, it's gonna be like if we cured AIDS, it'd be like sex in the streets, man. People are gonna be going crazy.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. The party this summer, especially in Boston, like once this all gets blown through and it gets figured out,
Yep.
Oh
Okay.
Lord.
people are going to be like absolutely out of their minds.
Yeah.
After being cooped up for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're lucky that the marathon actually got postponed because I think if it cleared up marathon weekend, it would be a nightmare.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
So
Yeah, no, but I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the turnaround. Hopefully, we just get through this in the next month or two and just have an awesome season. That's the plan.
I agree. All right, gents. I got to get on Gareth Locke's class. We start at 2:00, so I'm doing that instructor class or the whatever class he's got going on right now. So,
Very cool.
but as always, an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. It's always good conversations. So I'm glad that I didn't get upset Pouty Nick because of the travel stuff. So I've seen that before. I'm very glad that I didn't get that. So, but be safe, gents, and thank you for your time.
Thanks for doing it.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, take care, guys. Bye bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.